instance, thought patterns. Thought patterns or lower frequency vibrations, they're all around us. All around us, all the time. Yeah, we coexist amongst this energy. Now, when we talk about, and a lot of people are kind of, don't think positive, don't think negative, think positive. And it's like, well, beloved, in this environment, the mind identity is just going to pick up on thought patterns, just in general, because it's within our environment. It's always flowing. And it's beneficial to choose or energetically entertain ideas and thought patterns that are beneficial to us, that bring a sense of excitement and encouragement or what have you. And that's a great thing. It's just that even prior to our ability to select thought patterns, our grounding is necessary. Grounding ourselves is in existing in this space of peace within ourselves, in which we can be present and realize that we're the silence that observes this activity, positive and negative thought patterns. We're the presence that observes that stuff. Once again, the true self isn't thinking anything. It's simply there, receiving, observing, monitoring the ideas, the frequencies, and all of the stuff that's going on mentally. Once again, the true self. The true self is simply observant. It doesn't identify or hold on to any of the thoughts. It's able to truly just exist. To breathe, to be there, to recognize the stimuli, what's being seen. There's a sense of detachment. Yes, of course, emotional presence, but at the same time, there's a clear observation of everything that's taking place externally and internally. But there's also the maturity in which to recognize our ability to select and decide what we entertain energetically, emotionally. We can decide. Thoughts of all kinds can show up in the mind identity, and me still be present enough to not identify with these ideas. To just observe them and not feel any type of way about what I observe. Sometimes the ideas can be as sharp, disgusting, triggering in so many different ways. It's just that it's this emotional manipulation or the attempts to be emotionally shocking that usually sell us on the idea of entertaining these ideas or these thought patterns. Oh, wow, I'm thinking that. And it's like, well, because the thought pattern was so dark and deep, it can be shocking. It's just that it's attempting to shock you to the point where you feel as if the thoughts belong to you. And the mind identity will say, well, I'm thinking this, I'm thinking that. I can't stop thinking of this. I can't stop thinking of that. I believe this. I believe that. And it's like, beloved, the true you, I, isn't thinking anything. Isn't thinking anything. It's observing these ideas, but it doesn't necessarily belong to you. It doesn't belong to the I. And it's the guilt and pressure and feeling as if the mind identity and all that it receives is being generated from us. That's where the line is drawn. This is the difference or the differentiation that's necessary for us to identify, to release the weight of guilt and feeling as if these are our ideas or who we are talking mentally and all of the things that we may entertain or things that come across our attention and feeling as if it's us, it's coming from us. And sometimes it's so dark that we feel guilty about the thought patterns or ideas that present themselves mentally. Once again, this is a radio receiver. Has nothing to do with you. It's receiving information. Now, the true self, you get to choose whether to entertain these ideas or not. You get to choose. You don't have to entertain any of the things, and even if you do, this is what we're here to talk about in this particular section. By allowing this activity to flow through you, you are allowing yourself to be exactly where you are. You're allowing yourself to be exactly where you are through allowing the activity. You're doing something right now. A bunch of thoughts and ideas and talking can go on in the head. It's just that you don't have to identify with any of that stuff. You can release all of that stuff and just let it flow past whatever talking going on mentally. You can just let it be there and truly be where you are. You can. You're not responsible for this mental talking or whatever thoughts that present themselves mentally. So you can release the guilt, the weight of feeling as if you need to reconcile these ideas or this mental activity. Thank you, Sydney. Surrender. Let go. Relax. You don't have to identify with this stuff. This is not your weight. This stuff ain't your bag. This ain't you talking. These aren't your ideas. They come from your environment. Here's the thing. The more you attempt to fix, replace, or cover up this activity with something else, the less you value yourself in this moment via such judgments. What does that mean? You find value in yourself in recognizing who you are as the silence that's present and not the ideas, not the talking. You value yourself in recognizing that these ideas, this stuff is talking, all this chatter going on in my head, this ain't me. This stuff ain't got nothing to do with me. There's lower frequencies in my environment. These ideas, all this thought, this thinking. Ain't got nothing to do with me. The true self, the higher self, the real self is just sitting there observing. This stuff ain't mine. And once again, I kind of raise and turn my nose up a little bit because that's how it feels. And yes, of course, it's a little, it has a connotation to it. But at the same time, you're talking about lower vibrational frequencies. All this destructive energy and talking and projection and ideas and so on and so forth. I'm beyond that stuff. It's lower frequencies of the environment. I decided to be in service here on the hell plane. You think I was going to come to the hell planes and it was going to be rainbows and butterflies and thinking pretty thoughts and what have you? No, it was a lower frequency environment. It's a bunch of stuff that's going to be intolerable to a certain extent that I'm going to hear or that I'm going to feel or hear mentally because of the density of the environment. No, it's not my stuff. All these ideas and talking and so on and so forth. I'm going to hear all kinds of stuff, especially when I'm amongst a crowd of people. My strength, my maturity is in recognizing I'm beyond that stuff. I can be present and hear a bunch of talking and not feel as if I'm responsible for it. Feel like I got to go and reconcile these ideas or these thoughts and what I'm thinking. Like, no, I'm thinking nothing. My strength is in my ability to accept all of this stuff, all of these patterns, all of the hearsay and lower frequency emotions or what have you that I may observe. Because the true self is an observation. The true self ain't thinking nothing. It's just looking. It's just observing. But of course, when we're so used to identifying with thought, we feel responsible for this stuff. We feel like we crazy or we need to do something about it. We need to stop thinking about this stuff. I can't stop thinking about this and thinking about I'm having suicidal thoughts. And am I something crazy? Am I crazy? Am I suicidal? Because I keep thinking about this and thinking about all this stuff. And it's like, you're taking possession of lower frequencies. You're identifying with lower frequencies. It's just that the differentiation is necessary. You need to know that this is not you talking mentally. These are the lower frequencies of your environment. And no, you're not responsible for the things that cross your mind. You have no idea how many people have written me attempting to get my advice because they keep having suicidal thoughts. Commander Ansel, I keep having suicidal thoughts. What's going on with me? What's wrong with me? Why I keep thinking about this and incest and having sex with kids and such and such and such and such. Like, dog, these things are extremely disturbing. And of course, we want to distance ourselves as far away from these ideas as possible. And sometimes the thought patterns make us feel guilty. And it's like, dog, none of this stuff belongs to you. These are the lower frequency vibrations of insanity. The true you ain't thinking nothing. You don't have to identify with this stuff just because these ideas crossed your mind. You're taking possession of these ideas. This is not your stuff. You're here on the hell planes. Of course you're going to come across frequencies or lower vibrations that have you considering these things. That's the nature of the hell planes, lower frequencies and this kind of insanity. Doesn't necessarily mean you crazy. You don't have to think about this stuff. You don't have to continue to cycle these ideas. If anything, you were triggered. You're triggered by these ideas because they're so far away from what you consider yourself to be or what you want to be associated with. That's why there's so much resistance. It's just that the resistance is only providing energy to the ideas. The lower frequencies, the purpose of the lower frequencies were attempts to trigger you and invest in energy in these ideas. That's the nature of the lower frequencies. They're attempting to trigger you. If the ideas are insane or crazy enough or shocking enough, you'll feel like something wrong with you. And it's like, dog, this is not your stuff. You don't have to take possession of these ideas. You ain't gonna, once again, you're not gonna do nothing to no damn kids. Like, what you? But, of course, if you're not grounded, you're going to continue to entertain the cycle of ideas mentally that are triggering to you. And they trigger you just so you get stuck in playing with the ideas. That's the nature of the Chinese finger trap. The more you resist it, the stronger the lock get. The stronger the lock get. Because you're triggered. You want to be so far away from those ideas that you're investing energy into the idea itself. And now you got it on your hand and you're trying to get it off. And you're trying to get it off as fast as you can. And it's like, dog, relax. You're resisting the idea, which is actually you giving energy to the idea. You trying to get rid of it is you giving energy to the thing itself. And yes, we got it. You don't want to be associated with that kind of stuff. It's just that it's necessary for you to have the strength in which to show compassion to yourself and accept this stuff because, yeah, these ideas, this activity does exist amongst your brothers and sisters. It's a sickness. This is the hell planes. Stuff like that happens down here. But it necessarily means it belongs to you. But those ideas are in your environment. You get to choose what you decide to entertain. You get to choose what to entertain as a creator being. That doesn't mean it's being generated. You're not the source of these ideas. It's an aspect of the reality. It's an aspect of the environment. The more you're trying to get it away from you, and you're kind of resistant to it, and you feel some type of way about it, the more you give energy to it. And it's like, well, if the resistance locks it closer to you, like it brings it closer to you because you resent it so much that you bring more of that energy closer to you. Stop resisting. Relax. You protect children. We get it. That's the nature of your presence. You don't have to fight so hard to not consider these things. Be confident in who you are and your nature. You don't have to overcompensate for what you're not. This is where the toxicity comes from.